Well, good morning, everyone. Looks like I'm between you and the next break here. So my name's Eric Blair. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Andelin Biosciences. The last group seemed like they talked a little bit more about cell therapy. We're going to talk more about gene therapy through my conversation with you. But one of the things I want to start out with is it's you in this room that are going to make the differences. As we take a look at, one of the greatest opportunities that sits in front of us right now is this explosion of access to technology and cell and gene therapy, in our side, really gene therapy, really having a major impact on the healthcare system. And so it's you that are really going to be driving this. CDMOs like Andelin Biosciences, which I'll share the name, the origin of the name, which I think everyone will really appreciate in just a little bit. But CDMOs are here to serve you. And so our job is to make sure that as creators, as drug makers, we're drug makers together, and we're able to get these to the patients and do what I like to call is the power of zero, right? Let's start adding zeros and many zeros onto the end of the patients that we can impact. So as we take a look at rare diseases, for example, the last group just talked more about how do we get to the broader diseases, which at Andelin we certainly can handle and do. But one of the places that we like to look at is rare diseases are very, as this study shows, individually rare, but very common. And so there's been reports up to 7,000 rare diseases, 7,000 to 10,000 rare diseases, and they're 10 times more costly than a more common disease. And so the societal responsibility for all the known rare diseases is in the staggering $7 to $8 trillion. And so this is a place that Andelin and our partners that we work with, we've taken a real focus in rare disease. We've really driven to engage and drive to be able to reduce the costs of getting these rare diseases in the hands of the folks that need it. And so with a few things that we take a look at as far as contract manufacturing, one of the things that we think are important, we just had a discussion here where we talked about CDMOs need to understand the client base. They need to understand how a drug maker needs to move from one phase to the next, needs to move from preclinical to clinical. And so one of the CEOs that we discussed described the valley of death as being the time between preclinical to clinical and each of the clinical phases. The quicker that you can pass through that, the better, obviously, you're going to get there. With companies smaller companies having, $1 million monthly burn rates, and larger companies having $60 to $100 million monthly burn rates, a single month is key and critical. And so as we take a look at the gene therapy manufacturing that we focus on at Andelin, we've built processes and we've actually optimized our facilities so that we're reducing that time in between signature and solution in our clients' hands. It's as much as 3 to 10 months, which is a huge, staggering amount of money that helps people get past that valley of death. So that's one of the important things. Another key area that is really important to think about as drug makers is this concept of variabilization. And so over the last 4, 5, 6 years, especially in the early years, you could not find capacity, you could not find the ability to get a gene therapy built. And so you had to build it yourself. And so at Nationwide Children's Hospital, which is where Andelin was born from, that is the reason why they decided to build a manufacturing facility, is because they could not find it. Well, now here in 2022, we find ourselves in a very different situation. And now we're starting to mature the market. We're starting to mature the ability to have good manufacturing. And I think that's the important point, is that not all capacity is capable. And so it is really important to take this idea of variabilization of the supply chain. And I put in here a solar panel, because a solar panel only works technically part of the day. The rest of the time, it's not working for you. It's not functional. It's not providing any value. Now, translate that into a GMP facility that does gene therapy manufacturing. That is a very, very costly endeavor. And so it should really be something that should be thought about very heavily as to how can you outsource. And so Wayne Woodard is the founder and CEO of Argonaut Manufacturing Services. He wrote a series of papers on this. He was in 3 different industries, in the computer electronics industry, in the semiconductor industry, which now are very mature industries that very effectively use CDMOs, so that you can transfer those costs into a variable cost. You don't have to put a fixed cost that will be near impossible to make sure is completely utilized. And then comes the fact that drug makers, and what we've discussed with clients out there, need scaled, trusted, experienced, and capable, and financially stable manufacturers. As you take a look at Andelin Biosciences, we've supported over 75 INDs through the past 20 years, over 450 GMP batches delivered in gene therapy. And we'll talk a little bit about our expansion that has enabled us to be able to serve our client base much more. So a little bit about our history. We come from Nationwide Children's Hospital. We're established in the early 2000s. You can see here that and these are publicly disclosed relationships, we worked through the early 2000s all the way up into 2020 in a very small facility, about 9,000 square feet. And we had a very significant impact on a number of drugs that were able to come out, and early drugs that came out. And so that led us into the decision to say, hey, listen, in 2019, we could produce up to phase 1-2 products, but our client base was becoming more mature. They needed to get to commercial production, and we couldn't do it. And so in 2019, Nationwide Children's Hospital, and also a partner, Paul Corporation, part of Danaher, closely affiliated with Cytiva, decided to form up, and Nationwide Children's Hospital spun out Andelin, essentially spun out roughly the 100 people that have been producing gene therapies for the last 20 years. And the facility is located in Columbus, Ohio. Very strong leadership. We're now at 200 people. We brought people in from the drug development groups. You can see from Novartis, BI, and Lonza. I come from Thermo Fisher. many years ago. And we decided to build out a 250,000 square foot greenfield expansion that has just come online. And so this leads to the fact of, as we take a look at the ability for drug makers to now take their products through CDMOs, reduce that risk, reduce the risk that technologies change and you have to reboot into different technologies. We've built out 250,000 square feet of space in preclinical manufacturing, tox, both preclinical and tox and GMP plasmid manufacturing, as well as an advanced clinical and commercial facility. This facility has 14 clean rooms, can fit up to 2,000 liter. Each of the 8 biggest clean rooms will fit up to 2,000 liter suspension. We'll be able to drive adherent programs. And so essentially it's a completely scaled facility, a set of facilities that are here from idea, from your concept all the way through your commercialization. The other thing is it's with the folks that have been doing this for 20 years, really driving through and developing out over 400 batches of GMP product. So we can go from the starting materials, we have our cell lines, we can help you through the development process. We talked about, the previous group talked about how important it is to get through these processes, get through development much quicker, get into the clinic. We can assist on the clinical side, and then of course, fill the product and provide that to our client base. All quality controlled, all with quality assurance, regulatory, et cetera. And so at this point, we are performing for not only early phase clinical, preclinical research, not only for those, but also for late phase and going to commercial production. And so, essentially, we've come from a small laboratory back in the early 2000s, supported many breakthroughs over the last 20 years, and now we're at a place where we can go from the concept to commercialization, all within the 3 facilities that we've built out. All of those have all just we've gone from 9,000 square feet of total space to 259,000 square feet of total space. And essentially what that offers to the future of drug makers is the ability to access this very high quality manufacturing, all on a variable rate, and with experts that are going to walk you through each and every step of the process. And so I thought I'd leave you with this, which is just a little bit about the name behind Andelin. It shows a little bit more of the experience of the team. Back in 2006, Andrew Kilbarger was dosed for DMD. He was the first patient dosed for DMD, and we're very pleased to be able to say, and this is similar to the story earlier. We're very pleased to be able to say that just 3 months ago, he was at our ribbon cutting event at one of our facilities, and he's doing great. He's finishing up his studies, and has overcome a disease and is doing well. Another one of our patients, Evelyn, received experimental therapy, Zolgensma. She was his Zolgensma baby at 8 weeks, and essentially She is now 7 years old and doing well. And so these are the type of stories that remind us how, why we do these things, why you guys do these things. And so that's how we came up with the name Andelin. And essentially, the vision behind the company is really to turn hope for those folks that got these very bad genetic lotteries and turn hope into reality for them, and to do it quicker. And so let's start adding zeros onto the end of those therapies that we can get out there, those patients that we can serve. And essentially, this is my last slide. This is our building that has just gone live for our clinical and commercial facility. We had an audit yesterday and today for a late phase program. The auditor shared that this was one of the most premier facilities that he's ever seen. And essentially, we are here to strategically partner with our client base. And I think that is the future of, the CDMO world, is to make sure that, there are experts sitting next to you that are your partners that are going to help you move through this process. We are looking for roughly 5 collaborations in mid to late phase clinical. So if you'd like to talk to us about that, we're in booth 202. Come visit us, and certainly look forward to answering any questions if there's a minute or two. If not, stop by. Our Chief Operating Officer is here. Our head of GMP manufacturing is here. And we have a number of other folks that are here to really sit down and have discussions about how we can help your programs, move your programs forward, do it more quickly, reduce your costs, and essentially increase access for patients. So thank you very much.
I'll just stop here, Ben. Great talk, Russ Jarrett, Criminal Fisher. I'm curious, the field's evolving very quickly, so I'm curious how much is Andelin doing on technology development when everyone's process is unique? How are you navigating that strategy? Do you adopt customers' workflow? How do you add to that workflow?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what we've seen is there's a lot of interest to, kind of convert the process is the product to, I need help here. And so we're moving to a position whereby we are enabling our clients to really bring tech transfer things in. So if a client needs to tech transfer in, our team is very experienced at being able to do that. If they want to use our standard process, we'll use our standard process. And so we're not locking people into a technology. And I think that goes to the variabilization of the manufacturing, which is we have to be able to adopt new technologies, new modalities, and enable those modalities. And so this is the stance that we've taken. We are doing that. We're taking in, traditionally we've been AAV. Now with the new facilities, we're doing lentivirus, we're doing other viruses, we're doing non-viral engagements with our clients. Obviously, gene editing is a very big area. So I think it's one of those things that we as CDMOs have to make sure that this is availed to the drug makers out there so that they can get their drugs and run these through. So long story short, we're being very flexible as it relates to that. Yep. Well, great. Thank you very much, and really appreciate the time.